You're never going to believe who we talked to this week on Shoe and Show.
There's something different in the air. When you come to the Black Footwear Forum national event, it has been coined as the footwear homecoming for a reason.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Shoe and Show. I'm your host this week, Matt Priest. I'm very excited about the conversation today that we're having because one, this is an initiative near and dear to my heart, in particular near and dear to the heart of FDRA. But also, it's been a while since Sabria has been on the program with us here at Shoe and Show. Sabria, welcome as my partner in crime today. It's so good to have you back with me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back. You guys have changed things up. We're on video now, so I'm excited.
We are on video. Yep, I had to comb my hair this morning. And I'm also excited because you're a key aspect of what we're talking about today. So who is on the program today? Who's on Shoe and Show? And let's just get right to it.
Yeah, so we have Portia Blunt with us today. She is the chairwoman of the Black Footwear Forum and also the executive director of the Footwear Futures Foundation. I work very closely with her. I love her. She's the best. She's the greatest. And so I'm super excited to be chatting with her on Shoe and Show today. Portia has been involved in BFF for like years, really since like the very, very beginning. But even before that, you've been in the industry for a while. So before we talk about BFF, let's talk about you and kind of how you got your start in footwear.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sabria and Matt. It's great to see you, and I appreciate the time to come and speak with you all today. So I started my journey into footwear many, many moons ago. Now that I look at the calendar, we're coming up on about 28 years. And I started out, I was a fashion design major from Virginia Tech. And yes, Virginia Tech has a clothing and textiles fashion merchandising program.
I go Hokies.
Go Hokies. But I started as a designer, particularly focused on fashion. And I started my career, ironically, as a designer for the United States Marine Corps. And I did that for...
Number 5.
That's right. That's right.
Everything you say has a call out, Portia.
Call and response. I didn't realize Matt was going to be my hype man, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. We need to do this like every day. But I started my career as a designer for the Marine Corps, and that kind of catapulted me into the athletic and footwear and apparel industry. And I've been in it ever since and have loved it along the way. And I've done a lot of different things, which is what I think gives me a unique perspective in this industry, in that I've seen the industry from a lot of different perspectives. Coming in as a designer for the Marine Corps, I worked on the government side of things. And so the goal is to spend money, not to make money. And so when I transitioned into the private industry, I left the Marine Corps role to go to New Balance. I learned very quickly, this is about making money. I've got to figure out how I get this money that I was spending for the last 7 or 8 years. And that's a different kind of mindset. But I've done a lot of different things, whether innovation, design, product marketing, all the things, operations, you name it. And it has really served me in that it's a big industry with a lot to offer, and it's been a joy on my journey.
That's amazing. And just so our viewers know, both of us have fathers who served in the United States Marine Corps, very proudly so. As just
there we go. Look at this trio.
The trifecta. I didn't even know that. So my question for you as a designer of the Marine Corps, Portia, are you limited to like Marine Corps green, red, and yellow? Like, what are the color options when you're doing like design? What does that even mean? You design for the U.S. Marine Corps?
Yeah, it's a very specific palette. Like you're not following trends per se in terms of, let's say, cerulean is the new color of the season, right? There's no Miranda Priestley happening at all. It's a different mindset of design. It's functional design. This is what I like to really kind of describe it as. When I worked for the Marine Corps, we unfortunately were in wartime. And so lethality and protection in terms of protecting the warfighter was the mission from a design perspective. And so really in a focused mentality of what is the best technology, what are the best designs that are functional to keep a Marine safe and to give them the ability to do their job, where they're not thinking about their socks are rubbing their boots because you've picked the wrong kind of yarn and it's increasing blisters across the guys in theater. Those are the type of things. So I learned very quickly around problem solving and trying to find solutions. And style comes along with that. But the Marine Corps has a very specific aesthetic and they don't change. I can probably count on my hand the amount of moments in the 250 years of the Marine Corps that the uniform has changed, and it's not very many. And I luckily was a part of one of those more recent modern changes when the Marine Corps shifted their utility camouflage uniform from the traditional woodland camouflage to what you know today as a digital camouflage, which the Marine Corps calls a MARPAT, which is a patented name for it. And I worked on that project many, many moons ago as an intern and then as my first role as a designer for the Marine Corps. So it moves much slower in terms of evolution, but it moves incredibly fast in terms of innovative, like the science and the design that you don't necessarily see in front of you, but it's working underneath everything.
That's unbelievable. I'm learning out of the gate with Portia. We named it on multiple episodes, right? Because we want to talk about the Black Footwear Forum, but I want to talk about the Marine Corps for the next 25 minutes. But I'll pump the brakes on Marine Corps talk, and I'll turn it over to you, Sabria, to kind of unpack what else we want to talk with Portia about.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess walk us through more of your like footwear specific career. And so like talk about some of the cool shoes that you designed, because I know you've been a part of that in the past. So I would love to hear some more information around that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put it out there. I am not a footwear designer. I am a footwear connoisseur. So I'm dangerous in the best of situations in that regard. But actually, when I worked for New Balance, my first introduction into the footwear side of things was actually for the military, working on a domestically designed and produced shoe under the Berry Amendment. Mm-hmm. And that was a labor of love. I worked on that and lobbied and really tried to really focus in on ensuring our taxpayers' dollars were being utilized here domestically for production as it states in the law, but we were kind of getting around it because there weren't very many domestic manufacturers that could do the work. But we know that's not true. There are plenty here in the United States. And working on that design, which was built from the ground up by service members in terms of what their needs were, was a lot of fun. It was grueling work because at every turn you walk into any senator's office and they're like, not today. We're not going to add that into the bill. But at the end of the day, it was an 8-year journey. And today the military is adhering to the Berry Amendment as it pertains to footwear. And I like to think that I had a little bit to do with that along the way. But on a more fun fashion note, as my role as the senior vice president of product at Reebok, I had a lot of fun with the team. It's an amazing design and product management team there at Reebok. And we were able to do a lot of purpose-driven product. And one of the projects that was like near and dear to my heart was our programming where we give back. And one of the programs that we work with is tied to BFF. It's through Pencil Lewis College at the time and Marked. And we had been doing these design challenges in partnership with Marked, and the winner's design that they did on a Club C would get produced in a small run. And just to see some of these young kids, I remember it was one of the middle school students who designed a shoe. She'd pitch it in front of us and give us a business case. And when she won, I mean, just to see the joy in her face, and we made, I think we made like 10 or 15 pairs of shoes for her and her friends and family. And just to see that unlock in that young woman in Brooklyn, to see I could do this. I have done this. I see the shoe, I designed it. That to me has been probably the most impactful for me. We like to get the sales, but I feel that human touch and that impact into the community is probably the most touching to me in my career.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is a big part, I think, of what BFF means. And you mentioned it. So let's do a deep dive into BFF, because we're recording this just as we approach Juneteenth, which has long been such an important cultural milestone for the Black community, and is becoming increasingly more important for the broader American community, which I'm very grateful for. But at BFF, it's not just a Juneteenth conversation. It's not just a February conversation. It's kind of what we do all year long. So for those of our listeners and viewers who aren't familiar with it, walk us through what is the BFF and kind of what's our core mission and what are our marching orders, to borrow a pun from the military vernacular, kind of what are our marching orders as it relates to the industry and the Black community?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So Black Footwear Forum is an organization founded in partnership with Matt and Dr. Dwayne Edwards in 2019. Is that right? We were in 2019 in DC. And it really was this idea to bring together, build community around BIPOC, Black professionals within the industry to just kind of come together, right? We hadn't really done that in a meaningful way. And it has really grown into a pivotal moment in the calendar for people. But also our goal is really to, number one, provide community for those within the industry that may not necessarily be well represented across various roles and in the community and the industry at large. Also, one of the bigger pillars is creating pathways into industry. And so when we think about access and representation, BFF is the embodiment of that. So when we think about, I have two sons, I was about to say two young sons, but one's 20 and one's 15. So they're not so young, but for my kids to see that, you know what, I'm not just a consumer of footwear. I can be part of this broader industry, whether it's design, whether it's marketing, whether it's product development, whether it's logistics, whether it's finance, and to know I have a place there. And so BFF really is that megaphone and is that safe space, so we can bring together not only the ones who are learning about the industry and what's possible, but for a community and fellowship space for those that are in the industry. And so it's not just fun and games. We also are very focused on upskilling and providing leadership and learning development opportunities and conversation for our members that are part of the BFF community. And we've grown exponentially over the years, and it just is a testament to the need of such an organization, because you can fall through the cracks. You and I and Sabria, we all know what it's like navigating a very matrixed and difficult, complicated, layered industry. And sometimes you can fall through the cracks, but no fault of your own. And what I like to think about BFF is that it's a safe haven, and it is a safety net for people so that we can catch you before you fall and help guide you in a way that you need to be successful in the industry.
Yeah. And Portia, you've been involved with BFF, I feel like, again, since the very beginning. Kind of, how did you get involved? Like, how did you find out about it? I mean, you were a part of like the first regional teams, like part of literally everything that first started within BFF. So how did that happen? How did that connection become created?
Dwayne. I mean, I honestly, the power of Dwayne Edwards. Dwayne is a near and dear friend, and he's always been a mentor to me. And to me, I don't want to just show up. I wanted to be involved in any way possible. What can I do? How can I kind of put forth my resources to help move things along? So it really, honestly, Sabria, at the simplest, it started with what can I do to help? And that's what I said to Dwayne. And here we are 7 years later. This is what I could do to help. But, and it doesn't ever have, and I think that's a good lesson for people. It doesn't ever have to be this glossy pitch deck or anything. Like, just if you have something on your spirit, on your heart, just say it, put yourself out there and be available. And the difference though is not just lip service, right? And when I said, what can I do to help? I really truly meant it. My expectation was that he was going to task me with something, and he did. And at that point, it was simple things like, can you be on this panel? I'd love to see, at the time I worked for New Balance, I'd love to see New Balance involved. No problem. Let me see what I can do. And we brought four professionals from New Balance that first year, second forum when we were at Portland. So it just kind of goes from there. What can you do in your space, in your moment, in your capacity to contribute? And that's really kind of how I've looked at my involvement with Black Footwear Forum from the very beginning. And it has been from the very start a labor of love. I truly love it, and I love to see it grow, and I love to see how we can, really positively impact people throughout the industry beyond even what they think in the moment. Some of the things that we work on, you don't even see the fruits of it until years later. And that's pretty special. And I've enjoyed doing that. And it's given me a great outlet to stay connected to the industry throughout any role that I've been in. And you're right, the regionals, it gives you an opportunity to stay pulsed and connected in your local community, bringing people together. And that's the other thing. We have a bit of a naturally siloed and competitive industry where if, like I said, I worked for New Balance, I worked for Reebok, and by nature, they teach you to be down for your brand. You would never see a Nike person wearing a New Balance pair of shoes, right? By design, right? But that instills a certain kind of barrier of sorts in terms of people connecting across certain brands. And I think that BFF has done an amazing job of breaking down those barriers for people so that you can make those cross-brand connections and friendships and build community beyond your brand. So that's one of the things that we take very seriously at BFF is that we ask the brands to check your logos and your brands at the door and just come full and as yourself. And you'll be amazed at the amount that you get out of it, because there have been many a brand deal made at BFF without it being an official brand meeting or a real pitch. It's just about connection. It's about being, authentic and real in the moment. And that has drawn me to BFF over these years and has kept me with BFF over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I check your logo at the door, but throw your logo up on the sponsorship banner, because we've had so much support from the great brands you've mentioned, Portia, that people go to blackfootwearforum.com to learn more about the regionals or the annual meeting coming up, which we'll talk about in a bit. They can see just the broad industry support. And I would tell you, all three of us are kind of church-going people. It is the national event is the most like the spirit moves through that event like no other secular event I've ever been a part of. It's just a phenomenal experience emotionally, spiritually, dare I say, and professionally. And it's like this, it all comes together in one really sacred space, to not to be over hyperbolic, but it's just a good time with good people. And I can't overemphasize. And you don't have to be a part of kind of the Black community to be a part of it. We want all colors, all folks to come and experience it, because it's just a really cool experience. And it really is a blessing to be a part of it and to have it serve the industry like it is. So thank you for your leadership in this space in particular.
Thank you as well. I mean, and I have to say, Matt, you are the embodiment of what the definition of a true ally really is, in that you're in the trenches right next to us, right? Like, it's not like, okay, well, what is my role? What do I need to do? No, being there, elevating and amplifying because you are part of the community. And so that is really special about BFF in that it is designed to kind of give inroads and a path for those who may, whether they're disenfranchised or may not know, and a system that may not necessarily work to their benefit. It's helping us kind of dismantle that. But in order to dismantle it, we need our partners, right? Like we need everyone in holding hands so that we can uplift everyone to get everybody on the same playing field. And oftentimes that takes being in a space where you can shed some of the vulnerability to speak freely and to say on a panel, it's been a hard year. And sometimes I struggle because of microaggressions, or I struggle because I'm the only Black woman in the company or at a leadership level. And there aren't a lot of opportunities to have those vulnerable conversations. And I would say BFF as a place where those platforms happen very organically and they're solved. It's not just a place where it's performative conversation. It's, well, what can call me. If you don't have a mentor in your building, call, me, Sabria, get such and such in touch with so-and-so because they need help and they're in Columbus and they may not have a broader a community of folks. And that in and of itself is the spirit of BFF, to really kind of take care of each other in the best way that we know how. And you're right, the feeling in the air, I liken it to how I feel when I walk off the ferry when I get to Martha's Vineyard. There's something different. There's something different in the air. When you come to the Black Footwear Forum national event, it has been coined as the footwear homecoming for a reason. And the reason being is because as soon as you dot those doors into the PLC building, you feel like you've seen family members and people are coming and hugging you and saying, oh, I haven't seen you since September. What have you been doing? What are you working on? Get me a seat in the auditorium. And you're kikiing and you're laughing it up. You're taking pictures, but at the same time, you're being fed. Yeah. And so that is very unique in the structure of BFF. And that's a testament to the leadership between Matt and Dwayne and the amazing team that we have working behind the scenes, that people show up to BFF and it is buttoned up, pristine. It's an experience. And a lot of that is because of Sabria Butler. So
that's right. Amen to that.
Quiet in terms of in the shadows. She doesn't ever want to be pushed out forward, but that it takes leadership. It takes operational proficiency and vision. And she has all of that. And she does it with such grace. And so we have a small and mighty team that is really working all year round for those 4 days. And it's a big lift, and we work 365 days on what are the concepts, what is the theme, are we thinking about this, and the amount of love and care that goes into every detail when you walk into the BFF National Forum it's a lot, and it goes unnoticed, but by the masses, but I don't want anyone to think it's gone unnoticed by us, because it does take a small and mighty team, and Sabria is at the core of it. So thank you.
That is for sure.
Yeah. I couldn't do it without, you and Matt. So I appreciate you all's leadership as well.
It's a mutual admiration podcast. I'm digging
it. That's how we start our days, Matt. When Sabria and I are on calls, I usually start with a little B positivity, because we need a little something to pour into ourselves.
Absolutely.
And just to share the dates, because I do think everyone should attend if you can. It's September 10th to the 13th of this year in Detroit, Michigan. So still plenty of time to register, still plenty of time to sign up as a partner. So definitely, if you are able and willing, you should definitely come out this year.
And can I do a quick commercial break for the partnership opportunity? Because I don't want to nerd out and get all, technical on the tax bracket or status of the organization, but the Footwear Futures Foundation is now a charitable foundation. So all the donations that come in from our brand partners, from corporate partnerships outside of the industry, whoever's listening who wants to be involved in it, it's fully tax deductible. It doesn't flow through FDRA anymore, which is great. and that allows it to be fully tax deductible. And that was done by Portia and her leadership as the head now of Footwear Futures Foundation.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, it may not go at the speed that everybody desires, but we are listening. And so, like I said, it's a small and mighty team. So some things take a little bit of time, but we've been working on that transition for about a year and a half now. And it was important because we wanted people to not have any barriers to participation and support and partnering with us. And that it seemed like the best way to set us up for long-term growth and scale as an organization. And so with Footwear Futures Foundation, it gives us almost like an umbrella parent charitable organization that BFF can sit within as its own like crown jewel programming, but it also gives us some expanse, right, to build and grow over time into more programming and different things. And we're starting to see that with some of our additional programming that have spun out of BFF, like Sisters in Soul, and Brotherhood Renewed Ownership, which is the bro counterpart that started after we started doing our Sisters in Soul brunches. The fellas were like, what's up with this brunch? Why did we get invited? And so the next year they did a men's retreat, which was phenomenal, where they centered it around self-care for the men, right? And Black men, mental health, and how are you taking care of yourselves? And it was one of probably the most powerful breakout moments that we had when Dwayne initiated that. And so that's been continuing and has now grown into its own ancillary lane of specific programming where they're doing virtual speaker series, and then they'll be doing continued programming throughout the year. So the growth is there because we listen to the feedback. When we ask to give you a survey, that's not just data for the sake of data. Believe me, Sabria, she fine-tooth combs through that, and we review it and we sit down and say, okay, when we look at what worked well and what didn't, this is what we could do better. And we really take seriously the input of the community, and a lot of those programs and what you start to see coming to life year after year with us is outputs from that dialogue and communication with our community.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that feedback, as we always have constant feedback, so people can continue to provide that who take part in the movement that is BFF. Now, Portia, as we round third base and head home on this conversation, I did want to talk about your other day job, like Be Blunt, and that whole, you mentioned Stefan Off the Ferry and Martha's Vineyard. Talk to us about, I think the technical term is Renaissance Woman, but talk to us about this other thing that you're doing. So that people are aware of that, not just BFF, not obviously your brand history, not only how you serve the U.S., the American people through your job with the U.S. Marine Corps, but round us out with Be Blunt.
Oh, thanks, Matt. So I left the corporate engine of the industry. I haven't left the industry, clearly, but I left the corporate end of the industry because I felt it was important to lean into my purpose. And as part of that, I started my own lifestyle and apparel brand called Be Blunt, which focuses and is centered around classic American style, but told through the lens of Black culture. And so the mission and ethos of the brand is storytelling. Tell these stories of Black history and institutional cultural relevance to us. So it's preserved, and not only preserved within the Black community, but as in the community at large, because our stories are everyone's stories, and everyone should feel the sense of pride that I do about wearing, for example, our gray sweater, which is an American flag sweater, having a sense of pride about that flag because a young woman named Grace Wisher, who was a young indentured servant at the time, Black woman, helped sew that very first flag. And so those stories get buried and we don't tell them and we don't celebrate them enough. And through Be Blunt, we do that. And so we're really excited. June 19th, we will be opening our flagship store in Martha's Vineyard. And it's been a labor of love as well. over the last few years, just doing pop-ups and just the grind, really getting the brand out there. And we're starting to get some really positive traction. And what's unique about our brand is we're not really focused on a traditional path from a retail perspective. We instead are probably what you would call product archivists, but we have made inroads with partnering strategically with museum institutions across the country. So at the Museum of African American History, Boston, Nantucket, with the Smithsonian and the Robbins House in Concord, Massachusetts, and the James Weldon Johnson Foundation. And so these entities that have histories to protect and preserve, we really love that we're a conduit for them to keep those stories and legacies alive from a brand perspective and storytelling perspective.
I love it. What's the website that people can go to so they can check out what you're doing?
Yep. The website is bblunt.com, BEE like a bumblebee, BLUNT.com.
I also want to add that Beyonce and her mom wears Portia's clothes. So I think that's really cool. I think that should be said.
That's pretty cool. That definitely should be said, Sabria.
Sabria, thank you. Again, amazing hype woman. Appreciate you.
Well, I love it because to your point, Black history is American history. And as we're celebrating the 250th anniversary, highlighting the stories where Black Americans have been a part of our history every step of the way, provides also that buy-in for all communities to know, like, our history is complicated. Of course, we're sinful people. We all know this, and that looks different. But as we kind of bend the arc of justice towards a more equal society, those stories need to be told. And I can remember distinctly, I worked in the Bush administration. I can remember distinctly when the Smithsonian African American History Museum was being unveiled, if you will, with President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama, and President George W. Bush was there. That iconic photo of Michelle and President Bush hugging. The whole notion of what both presidents said was that the history that's found behind the walls of this museum is all of our history. It's American history. And so your brand really, in a creative way, encapsulates that. And so I wish you the best. I hope the opening is phenomenal. And
thanks, me too.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So as we close out, any closing thoughts or things that we should be focused in on, Portia, as we head towards particularly September and the Black Footwear Forum annual event?
Yes. Sign up to get our newsletter if you haven't. Follow us on Instagram because there's always information as we lead up. We're marketing and registration is open now a lot earlier than it has been in the past. We provide resources to people if you need assistance in terms of packaging a pitch to your corporate leadership in regards to your representation and participation in BFF. So please, by all means, do that as well. And get your meal tickets because we have partnered with Fixins, a local soul food restaurant in Detroit, and we've got an amazing shoebox lunch prepared for everyone, and it's amazing because you'll get a commemorative kind of shoebox that gives you a little snippet into footwear history along the way as a nod to that Green Book shoebox lunch concept. So really excited about that. You can do that now, do those things early, and start getting your travel plans ready for Detroit because we hold down Detroit in September and we look forward to it. So really excited. It's going to go by fast. We're already in June, and so September will be here in a blink of an eye. You go on one vacation, and the next thing you know, it's September. So,
that's right.
So get yourselves ready and stay plugged in, and stay plugged into the regional chapters across the country. Whether you're in Boston, New York, Columbus, Ohio, Atlanta, Portland, and plug into those local chapters because they are doing phenomenal work at the grassroots ground level. And we look forward to seeing everybody in September. Like I said, it's homecoming, so start getting your outfits and your shoes together.
That's right. Well, Portia, thank you so much for coming on Shoe and Show and hanging out with us and telling us your story. We really appreciate it. Sabria, thank you for hanging out with me and for your hard work behind the scenes for the Black Footwear Forum. It doesn't go unnoticed, and I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun hanging out with you all today.
You too. Yeah. Might have to start all my midweeks like this.
Exactly. We'd love that. So, folks, thanks for watching another exciting edition of the Shoe and Show program. You can go to shoeandshow.com to listen to all of our episodes. And to access our online program at shoetube.org, actually, is where our videos are housed. Go to blackfootwearforum.com if you want to learn more about the upcoming event. And as we approach Juneteenth, think about that outpost, that Black community out in Texas who finally heard that they were free after all those years, because their freedom is representative of all of our freedom. We should be grateful that we were all truly free at that moment. So remember that on Friday, Juneteenth. And every Juneteenth, every single year, we think that'll do your soul some good. So until next time, Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.